Unit 9, Inheritance. Topic 9.6, Polymorphism. I'm going to start by establishing foundational terms and concepts regarding inheritance that will help us better understand its power. From there, we will move into our topic of polymorphism. Colleen Lewis is a computer scientist who is dedicated to visualizing abstract concepts in Java using models. This presentation is using content from her series on Java inheritance. I highly recommend watching her videos. They are short and sweet, around 3 minutes each, and straight to the point. Repetition builds permanence and builds confidence. There is a difference between the type of a variable and the type of an object. Look at this piece of code. Try to visualize or draw a picture of what you think memory looks like at the end of the main method. Here's a visual representation of what's going on in the main method. First, I create a variable of type cat and call it C1. Then, we call the cat constructor, which creates an actual cat object. Lastly, the assignment operator creates a reference to that newly created cat object. It's like this little remote control with this ribbon attached to the cat. Let's now look at cat C2. Here we've made a variable of type cat called C2, but we haven't given it a value. This has been represented by a little x with no remote control. This is null because we haven't given or assigned it a value. Remember we said there is a difference between the variable type and the object type. Variable type in this example are the variables C1 and C2, which are of type cat. The type of an object was either a cat object as seen with C1 or null as seen in C2. Hopefully this visualization extended your understanding of variable type versus object type a little more. We stated that the object calling the method holds the power over that method. When we call a method on an object, we look in that object's class to find the code for that method. Take a look at what is going on in the main method and how it can be visualized. First, we create a variable of type cat called C. An actual object of type cat is created when we call the cat constructor. Lastly, the assignment operator creates a reference to that newly created cat object. This process is repeated when we create a variable called T of type tiger. An actual object of type tiger is created when we call the tiger constructor. Lastly, the assignment operator creates a reference to that newly created tiger object. I've added the cat and tiger classes for us to use when tracing the code in the main method. This line of code shows the method sleep being called on object C, which is referencing an object of type cat. Because of this, we will look into the cat class to find that method. It is there and will output zzzzz. The next line of code shows the method sayHello being called on object C, which is referencing an object of type cat. Because of this, we again look into the cat class to find the method sayHello. It's there and it will output purr. The next line of code shows the method swim being called on object T, which is referencing an object of type tiger. Because of this, we look into the tiger class to find the method swim. There it is and will output splash splash. The next line of code shows the method sayHello being called on object T, which is referencing an object of type tiger. Because of this, we look into the tiger class to find the method sayHello. There it is, it outputs roar. The next line of code shows the method sleep being called on object T, which is referencing an object of type tiger. Because of this, we're going to look into the tiger class to find the method sleep. It's not found in the tiger class, but because of inheritance, our machine will then look for the method in the super class. It finds it and will output those Z's. Questions to consider. What determines the type of the variable? The reference type or type of the variable is listed right before the variable name. What determines the type of the object? The constructor that we call to create the actual object determines the type of object. What determines what class we look in for code when executing a method call? The type of the object calling the method determines what class we look in for code when executing a method call during runtime. The type of the object must be the same class or a subclass of the type of the variable. As you can see, the last line of code is not valid as it does not meet the requirements of the statement above. With the information from the previous cat and tiger classes, do you think that this code will compile? It does not. Let's understand why. The tiger class does have a swim method, but the cat class does not. We can't use a cat reference to call a method that does not exist in the cat class. To better understand, we need to view this from our machine's perspective of time, compile time versus runtime. At compile time, methods in or inherited by the declared type or reference type determine the correctness of a non-static method call. During compile time, our machine determines if a method can be called. During compile time, the method must be found in the reference variable type. If the method is not found, you will get a compile time error. At runtime, the method in the actual object type is executed for a non-static method call. During runtime, our machine determines how a method will be called. The actual method called is determined during runtime, and at runtime, the method is selected from the object types class. During compile time, our machine determines if a method can be called by seeing if it can be found in the reference variable type. If the method is not found, you will get a compile time error. The actual method called is determined during runtime. At runtime, the method is selected from the object types class. In order for this specific code to compile, we will need to perform a cast. We've done this before with variables of type int and double. Casting is a way for us to tell the machine during compile time that the method does exist in the subclass and will execute properly during runtime. If a superclass does not have access to subclass methods, why would we want to use superclass reference types? There are situations where we will need to declare an object using the superclass reference type. For example, we may need to declare a variable for scope purposes before we know what type of object we will use. We will see examples of this in the future. Utilize the object class through inheritance. This means that all classes implicitly extend the object class. We will look at this in more detail on topic 9.7. The two methods from the object class we have already used and should be familiar with are the .equals method and the toString method. These are found in the Java Quick Reference Guide. We said that the word poly means many and morphism means forms. Polymorphism therefore means the ability to take many forms. Well, what can take many forms? A reference variable can be considered polymorphic when it can refer to objects from different classes at different times in the code, compile time versus runtime. In this example, the reference variable C during compile time takes the form of cat. During runtime, the reference variable C takes the form of tiger. A method can be considered polymorphic when it is overridden in at least one subclass. In this example, the speak method is overridden in each class and will take on different forms based on the type of object that calls this method. For example, if a dog object calls the method speak, it will return woof. The 9.6 daily videos 2 and 3 explore and practice polymorphism MCQ and FRQ style questions.